Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. If you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest high-energy updates in digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you updates every day at noon and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to everyone who takes the time to like, subscribe, and share these videos. Your engagement helps get this information in front of more people. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high-value insights to the crypto community, and I love reading your comments. All right, let's break this down. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into any of the clips, votes, or headlines, I want you to understand something. What just happened in Washington was not normal. This wasn't just another day. This wasn't procedural noise. And this definitely wasn't random. What you're watching unfold right now is a live power struggle. And it directly affects XRP, stablecoins, tokenization, and whether the United States leads or falls behind in the next financial system. This is one of those moments where the system briefly exposes itself. The Clarity Act was supposed to move forward. Instead, it slammed into a brick wall. Coinbase pulled support. The Senate froze the vote. Banks applied pressure. And suddenly, it was sold as clarity is starting to feel a lot more like control. If you're holding XRP, this part matters, ladies and gentlemen. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why this bill stalled at the last minute, what Coinbase's CEO actually saw that triggered the halt, why banks are panicking over yield, where Ripple and XRP fit into this, and what this means going forward, not just for crypto, but for money itself. Let's break this down. So what just happened? The last minute stop, ladies and gentlemen. In 1913, as the Federal Reserve Act was being finalized, there were late night rewrites and emergency meetings as banking interests realized the power shift the bill would create. Nothing was technical. Nothing was technically killed, but the pauses and revisions determined who would control liquidity for the next century. What looks like a delay on paper is often the moment where power quietly repositions itself. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the timeline. And this is where things start to feel uncomfortable. The Senate Banking Committee was scheduled to move forward on crypto market structure legislation, something the industry has been begging for years. This was supposed to be the beginning of certainty. Instead, the markup was postponed. No vote, no clear reschedule, no guarantee this version even survives. And here's the part people were glossing over. This wasn't Democrats versus Republicans, ladies and gentlemen. This wasn't crypto versus regulators. This was crypto versus banks. Let this sink in. Crypto versus banks. Committee chair confirmed discussions were happening with crypto companies, traditional financial institutions, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. What this means in English translation, pressure was coming from everywhere. But the moment that changed everything was when Coinbase stepped back. Let me ask you something. Does it make sense that the most regulated crypto exchange in the U.S. would walk away from a bill meant to help them? That's your first red flag, ladies and gentlemen. Why Coinbase walked away. The whistleblower moment. History is full of moments where insiders halt momentum. In 1971, when internal analysis realized the Bretton Woods system could not survive gold outflows, the system didn't collapse publicly. It paused. Nixon closed the gold window on a weekend. Coinbase stepping back functions the same way. Not rebellion, but recognition that the structure breaks if it proceeds unchanged. Coinbase didn't quietly object. They didn't issue a vague statement. They publicly withdrew support. That matters. Because Coinbase isn't fringe. They are the compliance poster child. When their CEO reviewed the draft, the conclusion wasn't, we need small fixes. It was, this is worse than the current status quo, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that. After years of regulatory ambiguity, the proposed solution actually made things worse. And here's why. Once a bill exits committee, fixing it becomes exponentially harder. Coinbase believed that if this text advanced as written, it would lock in consumer harming restrictions, yield limitations, structural problems that couldn't be reversed later. This is one of those moments where delay isn't failure, ladies and gentlemen. Delay is damage control. And that's when the vote was pulled. This is starting to feel less like a delay and more like a slow-moving car crash. You can't look away from this. The real battle, yield versus deposits. The savings and loan shift in the 1980s, money market funds began offering higher yields than traditional banks. Deposits fled overnight. Regulators didn't call it innovation. what they called it a crisis. What followed wasn't better rates for consumers, but tighter rules to slow the outflow. Stablecoin yield is the modern version of the same stress fracture. Let's talk about what this is really about. Because underneath all the legal language and political talking points, this comes down to money flow. Banks pay almost nothing on deposits. Stablecoins can generate real yield. The difference is huge. If you can hold a dollar equivalent asset, earn yield, and stay liquid, why keeping money in a 0.01 savings account? Banks know the math, and the math is fatal for them. Independent models show competitive stablecoin yields drain trillions in deposits, lending capacity shrinks, traditional banking system strains. So instead of competing, legislation steps in, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the contrast. Banks call this stability. Retail experience it as limitations. The most controversial sections of the bill weren't about fraud or crime. They are about closing every pathway to yield. Issuer yield, exchange yield, affiliate yield, all closed. What they call consumer protection starts to look a lot like deposit protection for incumbents. Does this sound like innovation, ladies and gentlemen? I want to talk about why XRP and tokenizations matter here. Think about the railroads versus horses. When railroads emerged, laws were proposed to protect horse-drawn transport under the banner of safety. Speed limits were imposed, routes restricted, not because rail didn't work, but because it worked too well. Tokenization and XRP sit in that same historical lane. Faster rails, threatening slower incumbents. This is where XRP becomes central to the conversation. Because this bill doesn't just touch exchange and stablecoins. It affects tokenization, real-world assets, equities, settlement layers. Language in the bill effectively restricts regulatory flexibility around tokenized markets. That's a problem. Tokenization isn't theoretical. It's already happening globally. If the U.S. locks itself into a rigid framework that freezes innovation, capital doesn't wait. It moves. Ripple understands this. That's why Brad Garlinghouse's response matters. He didn't attack Coinbase. He acknowledged their concerns, and he made something clear. The industry is still leaning in, but this bill must be fixed now, not later, because later may not exist. If regulation picks winners, it stops being neutral. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a lot to digest, right? If they're looking for a villain, after all, this is a drama. What's a drama without a villain? What's the building of this grand new financial rails, if not a drama? This business is not for the weak of heart, ladies and gentlemen. It's a thorny, brutal affair that rewards the lion for its ferocity. Now you may ask, what of the zebra? What of the poor zebra? Well, the zebra is eaten as the zebra should be. Ladies and gentlemen, and make no mistake, blood will be spilt in this battle, fortunes will be lost, and fortunes will be made. Men and people will be ruined. There's going to be betrayal, scandal of epic proportions. But the lion shall prevail. See, I know a secret that I'll share with you that I've learned in finance over my lifetime from some of the smartest people on the street. History doesn't remember the lion fondly. And history is written by the zebra for the zebra. And 100 years from now, when these financial rails expand the globe and XRP rises to be the greatest power of the financial world, certain people are going to be remembered for their tenacity, their conviction. But no one's going to remember the zebras that were dragged, screaming, kicking, trying to slow everything down. So I want to hear in your comments, who do you think the villain in this drama is right now? Is it the Wall Street bankers? Is it influencers? Is it people like us? Who do you think it is? Because, Russia has their ruble stablecoin going on right now. That's big, okay? We have to keep moving forward, regardless. You can't wait for later, because later, may never exist. Every day you hear more of the news of what's happening around the world, and this is where change is going to come. It's going to come now. Because if it doesn't come, it may never come. So I'm looking at this from a standpoint, and this is where you have to have the Gucci clarity. You have to have your conviction about what's being built and why, because it's a treasure hunt going on right now. And that's why it's a drama, and there's villains in this, right? Okay. That's why you know what you're doing and why. Okay. What's so super important. So when you look at it like this, right, the things that help me keep the Gucci clarity when all this craziness is happening on, the RAND report, they spoke about Ripple and XRP for, speed of transaction. It was fascinating. And if you're mentioned by the RAND, that's big. You have a lot of XRP companies now filing to go public, treasury companies. That's huge. Progress is moving forward. They're going to keep laying tracks every day. It's whether or not you get your conviction shaken out and you throw in the towel and you do get cut up like sushi in one aspect, or you cash out and you're happy with that. What I'm doing for everyone that retains myself and our organization and capacity, with the remora, we're going to keep swimming underneath these sharks because we know where it's going. They're not going to stop. We're witnessing the biggest changes right now in our lifetime. I can give you a million analogies about why this is important. You just got to hold your conviction. You got to hold the line and know that you're saving for a better future for yourself. Saving in these coins is you're actually beating what you would save if you saved in a bank, because inflation would be eating away what you'd make. But again, make no mistake about this. Fortunes will be made. Fortunes will be lost. People will be ruined. It's just whether or not where you fall into this matter. I look at any battle that's going to happen is happening right now. I believe that this gets done in some capacity going forward because it has to. There's too much online at stake. Remember, don't throw mud on anyone. There's no reason to throw mud on anybody right here, right now. Follow your own plan. Stick to this. I want to welcome everybody on our Patreon, all the new members in our membership channels. Thank you. Welcome. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, I always tell you there's two ways to make it in the finance game. One, to get very lucky, which most people don't, or two, to be taught by somebody and taught the trade craft. Anybody who wants to learn these things, I do encourage you to come and sign up and join us in our Patreon groups, and we'll see you there. I want to talk about the political tensions. The Glass-Steagall delay. Before the Glass-Steagall passed in 1933, it stalled repeatedly as banking fractions fought over separation versus control. Every delay wasn't confusion, it was negotiation over advantage. What we're seeing right now follows the same pattern. Pause, used to extract leverage, not clarity. Here's where it gets messy, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the part nobody has clean answers for. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Lawmakers are now pointing fingers. Some say the bill was too favorable to crypto. Others say it wasn't favorable enough. Democrats prepared to vote it down. Republicans say consensus is still possible. Everyone claims they're negotiating in good faith. But time is not neutral, ladies and gentlemen. Every delay increases uncertainty. Every rewrite increases lobbying pressure. And every pause benefits incumbents who already dominate the system, unfortunately. Delay isn't accidental, it's leverage. Here's the part banks say the quiet part out loud, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to think about the taxi medallion problem. The taxi companies didn't fight ride sharing by offering better service. They fought by invoking safety, licensing, and consumer protection, all while protecting medallion values. Banks confronting stablecoin yield are reacting the same way, unfortunately, defending legacy scarcity in a world of digital abundance. What's fascinating isn't banks aren't hiding their concern anymore. On earnings calls, executives openly discuss deposit erosion, capital flight, lending concentration. They frame it as protecting small businesses. But listen closely. The fear isn't instability. The fear is competition that works too well. Let this sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Fear is competition that works too well. Here's the contradiction. Banks warn about stablecoin risk while partnering with crypto firms. They talk about safety while lobbying to eliminate yield alternatives. That tension tells you everything. What they call safety, you experience as fewer options. What this means going forward, ladies and gentlemen. Every monetary transaction, from gold to paper, from paper to electronic, from electronic to programmable money, every transition's followed the same arc. Denial, resistance, regulation, adoption. The loudest fights always happen in the resistance phase. That's exactly where we are right now. So where does this leave us? First, regulation is coming. Market structure will happen, but the shape of it matters. Second, XRP tokenization and blockchain settlement aren't being delayed because they don't work. They're being delayed because they work too well. Third, this isn't ideological. It's structural. Old systems defending old advantages. And finally, this moment matters because whatever framework emerges will define who earns yield, who controls liquidity, how value moves for decades to come. The fight isn't over, ladies and gentlemen. It's just visible now. If you're paying attention, you can see exactly where the pressure points are. If you made it this far in the video, ladies and gentlemen, I really do appreciate you. I do. You know, when you take a step back, I want you to look at this, and I'm framing this as a drama because this is what this really is. It's some crazy kabuki theater that's a drama, and you're going to need villains. And again, why I say, you know, the wolf was always my favorite, and it will always be my favorite animal because it doesn't do tricks in a circus, smart enough to back up, and it survives in extreme environments. Okay. And there's order amongst it. Don't get shaken out right now. Don't lose your conviction. Excuse me. Don't lose your convictions. You got to have that Gucci clarity right now. Okay. You have to, because as institutions have come to dominate this space almost now, you're going to see more the trading on charts. Everyone who's a chartist from point A to point B. We know XRP system down pressure size, right? And people are talking about, 150, 175. 120, 145. If XRP was to fall down to those spots, you would have so much buying right away. That'd be like a gift to be able to accumulate more. It really would, because, the days of being able to add to, someone asked me this. I was traveling for business. I hold three personal bags for myself besides what we do for other people. One is the long term, one is what I do for transactions, and one is what I do for speculation. But I make a whole video about this because I also do that for metals, about how I stack three different purposes and why, right? Okay. This is going to be on Patreon as well, too. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize the world is seriously changing right now. Nothing is the same, and you can't ask people to understand what they don't want to understand. Their heads in the ground like an ostrich, okay? What's happening in the financial system is no different now when you have to reboot your computer with an update. Constant updates. But for the United States to stay the leader in the world, when we say we're the crypto capital of the world, these things have to move forward, okay? Because other countries are moving forward too. And this financial battle that's going on, and I love being a financial mercenary because I'm designed for this. And the fact that you guys are here watching right now with all of us, I know you're designed for it too. But you have to understand why you're doing this and where you're going. Okay? Because if you're not doing that, then you're outright really gambling and you have better odds going to a casino. I believe this will get done because it has no choice. So when you tune out the noise and you see who's backing who and why, that's it. To me, when the Rand Corporation talks about things, it's massive, okay? And with the exposure coming in, I just believe that this is a big shakeout and a lot of people are selling off for no reason. That's the people who are trading with leverage. They're not using cold storage wallets. So stay with this Gucci conviction. Get a frosty mindset as we're climbing this cold mountaintop now, what's going to be at the top where we're going. Don't be shaken out by the noise. This is a drama, okay? This is just a chapter in a play of a drama. I want to hear who's your favorite villain. Maybe you think we're the villains. I don't know, right? But I want to hear it, okay? And I want to hear what you think and why. Again, I spoke about right before the Federal Reserve came in existence. There were cartoons of a teddy bear talking about things. People talk about all kinds of things. A lot of strange things happening right now, but you got to keep your conviction about where you're going and why. If you follow your plan, you're good to go, okay? If you got value from this breakdown, hit like, share, and subscribe. I don't want you to miss out what happens next. Ladies and gentlemen, your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high value insights to the crypto community. I want you to stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. And I need you to be emotionless because these are defining moments that we're seeing, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this content is for informational entertainment purposes only. It should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Remember, the game is changing. Those who understand it first will benefit the most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have two choices. You can be like the crowd, reacting after the move, rationalizing why they missed it, telling themselves to never let it happen again. Or you can be the one who saw behind the curve, the one who understood the infrastructure shift, the one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud, but the ones that change everything are quiet, right up until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink, because the world is distracting you with noise, while XRP continues developing behind the scenes and building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed. Accumulate knowledge. Your move now be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. If this opened your eyes, smash that like button, ring the bell, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to Crypto Republic. We break down the major global banking trends, shaping digital assets today, giving you context, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay in the Republic.